Yo, who says we were bad in front of a national audience? Okay. Monday Night Football. We pick up our first win of the season. Maybe this will be the most positive 305 gridiron we've seen since
Let's
ever?
go. Ever?
Welcome back to the 305 Gridiron. We are a Dolphins fans podcast, and we are so much happier because we got our first win of the season. It only took till week 4. I was starting to begin that it might take starting to think that it might take much later in the season before we finally saw a win. Goodness gracious. Josh, man, it turned out to be an ugly win, but for the majority of the game, we looked pretty dang good.
Yeah, it was wow. Yeah, it was something. There were some ups, there were some downs, there was one dark moment in the game when we lost a key piece of this entire team, which really was hard to watch. But yeah, no, look, we are very honest on this podcast. If for those of you that are regulars, we keep it real, we keep it blunt, and it has not been all rainbows and sunshines. And I think we can finally breathe. We got a first victory. Maybe this snowballs into multiple victories. Maybe this is the only one we get. Who the hell knows? However, not to steal this from other podcasts, but this is a club dub of sorts, right? And we will approach it as such.
Welcome back to the show, Abel, and of course, Balakai joining us here in the chat.
What's up,
welcome
gents?
back, fellas. Good to have you here after a Dolphins win for the first time this season. I think, the news that you alluded to is something we should probably start the show with. I know we usually start with our instant reactions to the game, but for unfortunate reasons, we do have news to talk about first. Now, we did record a breaking news segment before this, so you may have already heard, but Tyreek Hill went down awkwardly on a play in the third quarter where he actually he's held onto the ball, thankfully, for the Dolphins, miraculously, but he caught it on the sideline, went down awkwardly, and dislocated his kneecap. I'm having a hard time even saying that without cringing, to be honest. It sounds and looks as brutal as can be.
He has like every major ligament in his knee as well.
Yeah, he's expected, of course, to miss the rest of this season and potentially some of next season, although it won't be in a Dolphins uniform. So, your reactions, I know, we recorded a separate episode on this, but it's still, for those of you who are joining us now, I would love to get your just what we're thinking, feeling, seeing when we all kind of saw what happened there.
Yeah, go ahead and throw it in the chat. Let us know what your thoughts are. For me, it was hard, man. I have been very vocal about Tyreek Hill and his antics off the field and some of his antics on the field and his lack of concentration and. But all of that being said, I cared as much and I was so passionate about it because I held him to such a high standard because he was such a good player. Right. Yeah. And when irregardless of how you feel about Tyreek Hill, irregardless of if this was, that this was the last season on the Dolphins, you didn't want it to end this way because the moment he stepped foot into this building, our offense took multiple steps forward. With him being out, it raised a lot of questions. You and I, have been very vocal on opposing sides of whether or not Waddle is number one. I think he is. You think he's not.
Correct.
It's going to be, very interesting to see how the young guys, for lack of a better term, step up. And they're going to get thrust into the spotlight very quick. I think our starting three now, tell me if I'm wrong, Waddle at the 1, Malik Washington at the 2. Well, probably Malik stays in the slot and Nick Westbrook-Akine stays as the outside number 2. Mm-hmm. And then Darren Waller hopefully stays healthy and continues to contribute like he did, which we'll talk about later on. I don't know, man. It sucks. It really put a damper on our first win in true typical Dolphins fashion. It can never go easy. But here we are.
Yeah, I mean, I never want to see a guy get hurt. Obviously, we've spoken on this show a lot about Tyreek, but in terms of like who steps up, I think Taj is the closest thing we have to a Tyreek on the roster.
Taj or
Um,
Malik?
Taj,
Yeah.
yeah, Taj. I
Yeah.
think Taj has the quickness and the ability to make anybody miss. Clearly, he hasn't been active yet this year, so there's pieces of his game that are still missing that the coaching staff doesn't trust.
Mhm.
But it would be nice to see him get some playing time and not still be in the like. I know we signed Cedric Wilson, but it would be nice to see Taj be
Yeah.
able to beat Cedric out
Yeah.
and get some playing time.
Yeah. Cedric Wilson did not have that on my bingo card.
I didn't even know he was still in the league.
Of all of the free agent wide receivers available, none of which are phenomenal choices. Deontay Johnson was the first one that came to my mind because I believe he's a free agent. He has the speed element. He's kind of a nut, a head case off the field. I understand that. But yeah, Cedric Wilson, Saints practice squad, grabbed him. Maybe. Okay. I know coming out of Dallas when we signed him was a couple of years ago.
Yeah, a few years ago.
He came off a really good season. So maybe he can give us something. I think we're going to see a lot of, well, knock on wood, barring injury, a lot of, Waddle, Washington, and Nick Westbrook-Akine. And if we have to rely on Cedric Wilson, this season's screwed. We're screwed.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be not that Nick Westbrook-Akine won't to see anybody in front of him get hurt, but it's got to be almost a sigh of relief for him. He's been invisible this year.
Yeah,
coming off of
9 touchdowns,
a career year. Yeah, in Tennessee, he signs with Miami, expecting to be a part of an explosive offense. But right now, we're averaging 185 yards passing a game. There's not enough. There's not enough meat to go around. So let's take a look at the comments before we move on to our initial instant reactions to this game in general here. So taking a look at Balaka here, yes, there was definitely very good news. Surgery went well. Josh mentioned in our breaking news segment that it was one surgery, not multiple, so that's always a positive look at it as well.
And Blake, I've done the same, not in both, but in one as a soccer player. My knees are shot, bone on bone, have been for years. Getting it all done in one surgery was massive, right? Because what normally happens is they have to go in for a second clean out or even a third clean out, depending on swelling and stuff, as I'm sure you're aware. So the fact that they were apparently able to get it all done in one is massive for his recovery.
Absolutely. Abel says that you got to feel for the human joystick. Absolutely. 100% agree here. And Blake would also rather go with the guys we already have. Next man up. And I completely agree. I just really want to see Taj out there. I mean, he's so explosive. In the preseason, he was lighting things up. I know it's preseason and we've fallen for that trap 1,000 times, but let's see if he can do it against real competition.
Yeah. I wonder if Dieskridge ends up seeing even a little bit, even a taste at wide receiver in game. I
literally always forget about him. Like every single time. Yeah. Good point by you. Let's move on. Instant reactions. All right. So we win this one 27-21. I don't think that tells the whole story of a pretty dominant matchup by the Miami Dolphins for 55 of the 60 minutes in this game. I think there was, and not that we let up 5 minutes of aggressive, of positive play to the Jets. The Jets had, I think, a total of 5 minutes in the whole game where they seemed like they could really dominate us. And their first drive of the game, Braylon Allen ends up fumbling it on the goal line.
Yep.
One of 3 fumbles recovered by our defense in this one. And then later on in the game, what do you call it? Who's the quarterback? Justin Fields runs on 4th and 1 for 47-yard touchdown or something like that. So the ups and downs of being a Dolphins fan, we were not without. It was absolutely insane.
Yeah, it was one of those games where it was like, hey, we're doing, oh, just kidding. Oh, hey, there we are. Nope, just kidding. It was that, talk about ebbs and flow, man. You can never just settle in as a Dolphins fan and enjoy the game, right? But I will say this, the Jets are, for all joking aside, everyone on this show knows I think the Jets are a dumpster fire mostly. They have a solid team. Right. I mean, they brought Pittsburgh to the brink. I forgot who they played last week, but that was a really good game, I believe. And so, yes, they're 0-4 now, but they're not an easy out like they have been in years past. And you were right. Justin Fields, man, he fucking adds a dimension. I did not realize that the last time he played Justin Fields when he was with Chicago, he put up like 178 rushing yards on us or something like that. Yeah. So when I saw that first drive where they passed once, ran it, what felt like 48 times in a row to get down, and we didn't adjust and couldn't do anything seemingly to adjust, I thought it was going to be a very long game, right? Lo and behold,
like it.
Lo and behold, momentum is a true thing, man.
Yeah.
If you didn't believe momentum was a thing in football, go watch this game, because that punch out in the red zone by who did it? Was it Jones?
I think Jack Jones. So I wasn't sure if it was Benito or Jack, but Abel said
it was Jack. It was the cornerback. Yeah. So Jack Jones punched it out. I think Minka recovered it.
Minka. Yeah.
Yeah. And the game was different from there, right?
Yeah. I mean, first of all, our offense comes out and does nothing. Not entirely their fault. Waddle gets absolutely molested on a play, and there's no flag, which I'm never one that's really looking for flags. But I mean, when it's obvious, it's obvious. Like
when I can see it,
right? Like if we can tell that's a flag, like what's going on here? But we immediately came out with the check down game, and the Jets defense was just ready for it. I mean, they didn't even drop anybody back. Like they had their two safeties behind, and that was it. The other 9 guys were just playing the line of scrimmage, and it worked effectively because they were like, "Hey, Tua, you beat us because we're not going to let the running game beat us." Now, of course, like you said, momentum changed, and how our offense changed, and our running game caught on, and everything ended up moving in our favor after the initial fumble recovery, which we thank goodness. But man, the start of this game was like ho-hum, Dolphins as usual. Offense does nothing, defense gets floored.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, nailed it, right? There's not much to add. I mean, it was without digging into our takeaway stuff, right? It was one of those things where it was, I thought this was going to be I'm going to be honest. I thought this was going to be a bad loss, like a really, really bad loss. And lo and behold, we, jumped out ahead, which was great. And then changed everything up again for some god awful reason. Stopped sending pressure, stopped calling, passes that aren't behind the line of scrimmage. We let them back in the game. So
I would like to call out that I did correctly predict the score of this game in our preview show.
You did.
I said 27-21 Miami, and that's exactly what we did. A little pat on the back there. A little pat.
Deserve every second of it, sir.
One more thing I want to mention, because we didn't give this guy any due in the show notes. I'm looking, we don't mention him anywhere. Riley Patterson made the active roster for this one.
Yeah.
And he went, 2 for 2 on field goals, and had another day where you don't talk about the kicker, which is exactly what you want.
Perfect. Yep.
3 for 3 on extra points, 2 for 2 on field goals. Riley Patterson has been a rock in place of Jason Sanders. Interesting decision upcoming for them.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
Whether or not they let Patterson go for Sanders, who has had his fair share of issues.
Yep. And since we're giving shout outs, I want to make sure because I don't think we talk about it either, which is on me. Cole Strange, right? Signed him, first round pick from the Patriots a couple of years ago. Kind of fizzled out there, learning on the fly, didn't do him well in a bad system. Came over to us, was on our practice squad for a couple weeks. Got his first start. Only allowed 2 pressures, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, 2 or 3 pressures, which is great for a first start at right guard. Did better than Borum, which I thought was hilarious, but not shocking. Really showed out. I mean, I think I was excited about that signing when it was announced a couple weeks ago, because I thought if he can right the ship, he's on a really team-friendly deal as a first-round pick. It's solidified. We owe him very little money. He would solidify that right guard spot, which is great.
Yeah, Larry Borum continues to be a turnstile, but I have a feeling we're going to talk a little bit more about him.
Maybe, yes.
Maybe. I'm sure his name will find its way into the show. But yeah. Hey, shout out to Sports Night with George or Jorge. Let me know how to say your name, man. I don't want to say it wrong, so just hit us up in the comments. And then Abel said 27-20, off by 1 point, but you almost had it. Love the predictions, though. We're going to do more of that tomorrow. So rejoin us tomorrow
Yes.
night. We're going to do some more predictions for our next matchup against Carolina.
Yeah, Abel. Love that take. Shout out. All right. Penalties always kill us when man his blocking was good. He sure the hell was, and we're going to talk about him later.
Yeah, for those of you who weren't reading that, just shout out to Julian Hill, our tight end, now our backup tight end, we eviscerated a ton on our previous podcast that we were doing last year.
And rightfully so.
Actually, Josh nicknamed him Jillian Hill because he was truly awful last year in so many ways. But so far this season, he has actually been really good. And shout out to him for lots of improvement that he has done this offseason.
Yep.
Because he's making blocks, he's making catches when he's needed. It's not often, but I mean, he could have had that one touchdown that Waller got. He was also wide open in the flat.
Wide open. Yeah.
And I think he expected it. He was like
he's like, hey, wait, right okay.
Well, it was we'll throw it to Waller instead. Stupid jerk. I've only been here for 3 years, but moving. Let's move into our takeaways. Key takeaways from this game, dude. The first one we alluded to a little bit, maybe even talked about a little bit already, and that's the penalties, man. The penalties continue to kill momentum, and we're going to talk about them a lot in this show because they were such a huge part of this game. So much so that at one point I considered switching over to the Bengals matchup against the Broncos because I just did not want to watch the referees anymore. It felt more like referee ball than football. Combined, the two teams had 20-plus penalties. We had big ones on Borum, Sealer again, and Phillips.
Yeah.
What are we doing out there?
I don't know. I have a problem with refs that make such an impact on the game. You notice them, right? Because you're not supposed to notice refs, right? They're supposed to referee a game and let the players play. As far as from a player standpoint, there was a lot of penalties, right? And Sealer needs to get his shit together because he is somebody that we hold in very high esteem, and rightfully so, right? I think his play on the field the last handful of years with Miami, he deserved every penny that he got in his contract that he just in his re-up, and I want him here for the rest of his career. But this year has been rocky to be nice. And lack of production, costly penalties in the Bills game, potentially costly penalties in this game, ended up winning. So, okay. But yeah, we just have to, I don't understand why we can't figure out how to not have procedural basic penalties not on this team. Right. I mean, the penalties that we have are so dumb. Most of them, right? Some of them are egregious, right?
The number of illegal man downfield is like, come on, man.
Yeah.
You can't run further than 2 yards. It's like lineman 101.
Yep. Yeah, it's infuriating, man. It really is. But Jets blew us out of the water from a penalty standpoint. So I'm okay with that, I guess. Right. So
I mean, part of those penalties is play calling too, right? Because they're trying to get out there to set up the screen, and then they're getting out there too soon. And I know it always goes back to the coach, but that's the point. It always goes back to the coach. He is the leader of the team. And if he's not making any adjustments to help alleviate the penalty situation, then
And this is where we were talking about maybe he'll simplify things now. Right? Kind of
which he still didn't do in this game.
Well, no, but now that Tyreek's injured, he may have to, right? I mean, he may have to, limit the motions.
I think that's some copium. Because we lost Tua last year and we didn't simplify shit.
I'm trying, dude. I'm trying to find some silver linings here, man. But, look, at the end of the day, I'm trying to be positive. This is our first victory.
Sure.
Penalties were atrocious. We have to clean them up, right? Because, I'm going to pop George's comment up in a minute here, but these penalties could be the difference between winning the next 3 games or losing the next 3 games.
Yeah, 100%. And we have games we have very winnable games coming up, but they are not walk in the park games, right? They're very Jekyll and Hyde. And to Jorge's point, I mean, we have seen the Carolina Panthers destroy the Atlanta Falcons 30-0 and then get destroyed by the Patriots. I don't even know what the score was.
It was like 47 to whatever.
It was a lot to a little. So I have no idea which Carolina Panthers team we're going to face next week. And then we get the Browns, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Chargers and the Falcons.
Something like that.
Yeah. Something like that.
Yeah.
But, so let's move on to our next point because it's a positive point and it's a good point.
I love this one.
takeaway number 2 from the Dolphins win over the Jets on Monday Night Football is the run game is becoming our identity finally. We are giving Achane the rock as often as he deserves. Ollie Gordon is getting in there in situational plays. What a smart football player, by the way. At one point, the snap gets fudged somehow, and Ollie kicks the ball on the play like he was being faked the handoff. He kicks the ball, realizes he kicks the ball, and turns around and dives on it. So Tua doesn't have to dive on it, thank goodness. But I mean, that's a rookie running back making a play like that. Fantastic.
Yeah, Ollie, I'm a huge. I mean, this is nothing new for those regular viewers of our show. Ollie Gordon, I'm a huge fan of. Right, I was a big fan of him coming out of college. I was shocked that he lasted into the rounds that he did. I love that we got him. Even though I'm a big Jalen Wright fan too, I think Ollie Gordon is far and away RB2 on this team going forward. And I think, Wright might be finding a new team in the offseason because of Ollie Gordon. And where I hate that for Jalen Wright, I love that for Ollie Gordon because he clearly has won that role. And I love that we're getting back to, we being the offense, I guess is a better way of saying it, is getting back to run first to open up the play action and to open up the passing game, as opposed to trying to force passes behind the line of scrimmage as an extension of the run game to open up the run game. You know what I mean? Like,
it's so stupid.
It's not stupid when it's done right. The problem is
it's
Mike
stupid
McDaniel,
the way we do it.
Yeah, it's his it's like a tick for him, right? It's like something goes wrong, I'm going to throw a screen. Yeah. Something goes wrong, I'm going to throw a bubble screen. Something goes wrong, it's behind the line of scrimmage. And I don't know. I think the rest of the offense feeds, including the offensive line, which I think is a huge point. The offensive line feeds on being able to, and they said it in a way I really liked on the broadcast. The offensive linemen get to be on the front of their toes and use their strength and their mass to move bodies out of the way to get them into the flow of the game very quickly when you start off running the ball, as opposed to them having to be on the back of their foot, for lack of a better term, to pass protect. And I thought you saw a huge difference in how this offensive line played versus last week, which they had a really good game for the most part as well. But I thought this was the best game of the year for our offensive line. And I think the running game has a lot to do with that as well.
Yeah, I mean, Achane is a man out there, dude. He is so good. To Abel's point here, I made a comp last year that he is our CMC, and I think he continues to make that case every single game. Ollie Gordon still not getting enough carries.
Agreed.
It really makes me. We haven't heard anything about Jalen Wright. It makes me really question if Jalen Wright will have any role whatsoever. I mean, in the past, with an MMD offense, we've seen a 3-back rotation, but I just don't see. We're not getting enough offensive plays to even warrant that at this point.
Yeah, I do like the fact that when we get into the lower red zone, it's Ollie Gordon time. Right. Yeah. We saw it all game. Every time we got into the lower red zone, which is 10 yards ish to the goal line, Ollie Gordon was back there. Achane wasn't. And where Achane is, I think, the best player on this team far and away. Mm-hmm. He is what he is, and he isn't what he isn't. Right. And I would rather have a 215, 220 pound bruiser back there and on the goal line to get us those 5 or 6 yards than having to rely on our speedster kind of best player gets injured. You know what I mean? So it was really cool to see. It was really cool to see Ollie kind of taking that role by the horns, made some really good moves, didn't get a lot of yards, right? Yeah. But that'll come, right? But you see the vision, you see he's a cerebral runner, and you could go back and watch his college film. But yeah, it was really cool to see. I'm super jazzed about this RB1, RB2 pairing.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, 6 carries, 10 yards. People were just looking at the stat line and be like, "Well, that's awful." And he wasn't awful in the game. He just he was put in some bad situations, but he's also like our 1 yard back. So when we need a yard, we pop him in there and see what happens. I would have liked to see him get more carries at the end of the game when we were trying to burn some clock.
We said it together. We were texting each other during the game. We're like, "Where's Ollie Gordon? What the hell?"
I mean, I get it, but you're more confident that Achane's going to pick up the 3 to 4 chunk yards that you need than you are Ollie is at this point, especially given the struggles on the carries he had gotten. But Yeah, I mean, don't wear down Achane to the point where he's not going to be useful
Right.
if we need him later on. Which,
Yeah.
listen, we're 1-3. Let's not talk about that.
I mean, well, that's fair. But really what I would love to see more of, which I haven't seen a lot of. I mean, hardly any, is 2 running back sets.
Yeah.
With Achane and Ollie Gordon. Right.
Hardly. Yeah, we used to do that all the time. Now we put our tight ends back there. It's very strange.
I remember 2023. We had a lot of those where it was like Achane and. It was Achane, it was Ingold, and it was I'm blanking on his name, Mostert, all in the backfield at the same time, and it opened up some really, because Achane was the receiving back, so he would do like a Texas route. Mostert would cross over. It was opened up some really cool play designs, and we just kind of got away from that. I would love to see us get back to that a little bit.
We saw that a few times, but with like Julian Hill back there, Ingold.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, who are you tricking right now? Nobody.
Himself. Mike McDaniel's tricking himself.
The play literally never worked. I think they did a 3 running back set 2 or 3 times in the game, and it got blown up every single time. It was like, you need to put another running back there, man. Nobody's falling for Julian Hill in the back.
I mean, look, Julian Hill is, I think it was Abel that said it earlier, right? Doing all the dirty stuff, right? That's what you want him to do. He's been a phenomenal blocker in space this year for running backs, kind of on the outside of the play. But yeah, who the hell are you getting? if you're a linebacker and you're biting on a Julian Hill fake, go sit on the bench.
Takeaway number 3, we talked a bit about already in our, in the news section of this episode, but we want to get a little bit deeper into this, and that's the Tyreek Hill injury and what that changes for the Miami Dolphins. We talked a little bit about who could step up, but what about changes to the offense, changes to the defense, maybe? Just changes in general. We would definitely need to talk about next man up, but we've talked a little bit about that. Maybe D. Eskridge gets some time in there, but the obvious ones are Jalen Waddle and Malik Washington. Will the offensive strategy change a little bit? We may not have that deep threat that we've been, not really utilizing, but we've been looking for. And are we going to start? My biggest worry here, Josh, is that we're going to start to get even more creative, which scares the crap out of me because our creativity hasn't been working in the first place. And now if we get even more cute, I mean, it might be bad days for us. Or, to your point before, maybe we simplify. We start seeing more of the bootleg rollout, which worked so incredibly well for us last night. Like, I don't know, man. It could go either way. MMD is really, really hard to figure out.
Yeah, I think we'll get a little bit of both. And I will say this: I never wish an injury on a star player. I don't wish an injury on any player, to be completely candid. But especially one that is your clear and out number, probably second, 1B, 1A type best player on this team. What this is hopefully going to do, though, it's going to force Mike McDaniel to make some changes. And we talked about it earlier, right? And we talked about it on the breaking news show. If you guys, again, if you haven't seen it, go check it out. We did a quick 10-minute breaking news just about this topic. Hopefully, to your point, we see a lot more of the things that are working: the rollouts, the bootlegs, the play actions, use the running backs in the receiving game a lot more. But what I also think this does is it hopefully will put Mike McDaniel back in the lab to force him to not solely or heavily rely on a single player. If you've watched Miami Dolphins football over the last handful of years since Tyreek got here, he was targeted, I think, I looked it up the other day. In his tenure in Miami, I think he was targeted an average of 12 times a game on average for over 3 seasons. That's ridiculous, in my opinion, when you have the players that you have, unless you're getting the volume in the passing game that we had in 2023, which we haven't in the last 2 seasons. I think it is going to be we're going to know what we have in Waddle and Washington, right? For all intents and purposes, both of them are very, very good players. I think Waddle has all of the ability to be a number 1 wide receiver in this league. I hope we don't see a lot of Cedric Wilson. I know we signed him from the Saints practice squad. I'm not expecting much. I think he is more break glass in case of emergency. God forbid we have another injury. But I think we see a lot of the Waddle as the one Nick Westbrook-Ikine because of his body type as the 2, and you leave Malik Washington in the slot where he excels, where he is our number 2 wide receiver for all intents and purposes. And then you use the running backs a lot more in the passing game. We have Darren Waller. Hopefully this wasn't a fluke game because he was fucking phenomenal. I mean, he looked like, you said it, you texted me and it didn't dawn on me until I read your text. He looked like a guy, a grown man playing flag football with 13-year-olds from a body standpoint, right? He just looks so much bigger than everyone else. Yeah. And so, with Nick Westbrook-Ikine offering yet another, taller player that's fast, that, to your point, with the Titans last year had 9 touchdowns. So he can clearly be productive in the lower red zone and in the red zone and in the lower kind of fourth of the field with Wall. I mean, so we might have lost our number 1 wide receiver, but we still have options. And we're going to know by the end of the season, not assuming, if the wheels fall off, for example, there are going to be mass changes. So we will know who we're keeping as foundational players and who we need to let go by the end of the season because of a single injury in Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, I'm hoping that Waddle proves me wrong. I don't see number 1 receiver in him. I know that he's had some decent numbers. He's an incredible player. It's not no shade towards him. I think some of the route running he does it's absolutely insane. I just don't think he's like, when I think number 1, I think difference maker at the level of Tyreek, and I don't think Waddle's the same level of difference maker. Now, as a Dolphins fan, I really hope he proves me wrong, and that I have to eat crow in the next.
And you will happily do so.
Right? Yeah. Like I don't care. I truly think that it's Malik's time to shine. I think it's his 3rd year now, second year, 3rd year.
Second. This is his year 2 as a rookie last year.
I
think, pretty sure.
Yeah. I don't remember. Anyways, I think it's Malik's time to shine. I think this guy has been chomping at the bit to get out there. He earned the number 3 spot over Nick Westbrook-Ikine, who we paid to come in and take that spot, and Malik earned it over him. He's like, a 6th-round pick or something like that? So he's had to earn every snap he's gotten. Incredible kick returner, incredible punt returner. He has a punt return for a touchdown already this season, so he has the explosiveness in him. I think he is the number 1 guy I'm looking at in terms of, like, I want to see how the offense plays with him as more involved. And like you mentioned, Darren Waller, man, this dude was standing next to Patrick Paul, and Patrick Paul looks small. It's just like, what is happening? This dude is so big. I think I don't expect Darren Waller to be playing between the 20s, but I expect him to have a huge impact in the red zone. And that's what we saw last night, and maybe that's because we're easing him in or whatnot, but I think Julian Hill did an absolutely fine job to help him get us down the field. And then when we needed the big body, physical receiver who can go up, he did go up and toe tap the ball.
Yo, that touchdown was like fucking wild.
Incredible. I thought Tua was throwing it away. And Darren Waller came down with it.
But Tua, that was a dot though by Tua. I mean,
it ended up being one. But like when he initially let it go, I was like, where the hell is he throwing that ball?
And that's what height. That's the difference that height makes, right? Yeah. I mean, and that's what you and I have been preaching for years now. Is we have a lot of fast, short guys. We need a different body type in this room. When we signed Westbrook-Ikine, we were both okay. Hey, we got one. We got one.
Exactly. And he hasn't done much.
Right.
Unfortunately. And I don't know. We could have tried lining him up at tight end, but he probably doesn't have the blocking that is necessary.
No, I doubt it. Although he did have when we signed him, because I know our wide receivers in Mike McDaniel's scheme, they need to be able to block. And I went back and looked at his blocking numbers, and he was pretty good, all things considered, in Tennessee.
Well, speaking of Waller, though, we may as well slide into takeaway number 2, because it is, in fact, Darren Waller looking like a difference maker out there in his first game with the Miami Dolphins. Listen, if you've been listening to us for even a little while, you know that we were extremely skeptical about this move. Giving away
understatement.
Giving away Jonnu Smith, who had 800 yards and 9 touchdowns or something like that last year, for pennies, and then trading a conditional 6th-round pick to bring in a guy who's been retired for a year because he didn't want to play football anymore. Very questionable decision. And then it was radio silence, right? After the trade, he went immediately on the non-football injury list, and he stayed there for a while. And then, of course, they had to put him somewhere on the active roster to start the season, and then we haven't seen him in 3 weeks.
Yep.
So to see him get elevated and make such an impact in the first, like you said, this guy dealt with injuries when he was in football shape and was playing the best years of his career. I am hopeful especially now that we've lost Tyreek, that his impact continues to be something that we can rely on throughout the year.
Yeah, and I'm going to say this knowing you because we're so close, right? So I know you'll agree with this. I think it's, and I don't mean to douse the flames of what the Waller performance with 2 touchdowns and coming up clutch with big blocks and big receptions and all of that stuff. I think we also as fans need to take a breath because, again, to your point, he was out of football for a while. He is injury prone. And yes, where he did have a 2 touchdown game and looked absolutely phenomenal last night. I'm not trying to move the goalposts on him because at the beginning, when we signed him, we did a show and we were like, okay, if he gives us 4 touchdowns on the year and 400 yards, that was a great signing, right? And he's halfway there from a touchdown standpoint. Yeah. I just want to make sure we're not like, hey, we have the next Travis Kelce. Hey, all is good. And then when he flames out again and gets injured next game, you know what I mean? Like, so I'm not trying to piss in anyone's Cheerios. However, it was a phenomenal game. And I hope to God, talking about eating crow, I hope I'm wrong, right? I hope he goes out and breaks records or at the very least produces on a regular basis for us. I'm trying to be a Dolphins fan, a normal Dolphins fan, and trying to take a breath and understand where his routes were crisp. He is a physical monster on the field, or at least he seemed like it against the Jets. And he seemed to have pretty damn good chemistry with Tua, all things considered. I mean, I don't know how much time they've been putting on together off the field, but they were in rhythm. I mean, they Tua, if you go back, I watched some of the replays and the all 22 before the show. Some of those passes where Waller didn't even have his head turned. Tua released it, Waller turned, bang. It was really cool to see.
Yeah, I mean, this is a good comp here. OBJ did nothing for us when we had him and then cut him. And I know our boy Taylor often compared it to Will Fuller signing many a year ago where he signed for a bunch of money and then I don't think he played it down.
Not a single one.
Yeah. So Darren Waller, listen, we're not putting you on a pedestal, but man, we're hoping for some good things out of him there.
And we're going to need him. And that's really, it's scary, right? Yeah. To put that much kind of emphasis on, hey, we can't afford you to make a mistake. We can't afford you to get injured, right? Which is not fair to him, right? Because again, to your point, it's been multiple years. He's ramping up. It's all slow. He's older, so he needs time. But dude, it's like we don't have time. If we're trying to turn the season around, we don't have time.
Yeah. All right, last takeaway from this one. We have 5 this week, which is more than our normal, but it was a win, so we may as well add some on to it.
Let's celebrate.
Add some on to it, celebrate a little bit.
Just for you guys, man. You the fans.
Just for you guys. The defense, very boomer bust. We got the turnovers we were asking for. We said, hey, somebody make a play. We got 3 of them, actually. Three fumble recoveries in this game. No interceptions yet.
Almost had one, though.
Almost.
Yeah.
Almost. You got Rasul Douglas out there looking like a 22-year-old rookie with a first-round pick. Looking great out there. Sealer with back-to-back tackles for loss in a critical moment of the game was fantastic. A couple little lapses here and there. Dotson had an up-and-down day. He would get burned in coverage, and then he would get a strip sack. I mean, it was really... in our text chain, at one second we're calling for his head and asking for Willie Gay Jr.
He's the best linebacker ever.
And then the next second we're like, Dotson for MVP. The emotions of being a fan, absolutely incredible. Yeah, it's nuts because the front at one point looked like they had collectively decided that they were going to rush the passer at one point in this game, and they disrupted every single play from that moment where they decided, hey, let's actually put some pressure on Fields. But it was the only time in the game when it happened. It was incredible. I was like, what is happening? Are we seeing a unicorn right now? Like, why are we only putting this much pressure on the quarterback in this little segment of the game? I have no idea what they're doing.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's the players or if it's Wheeler or if it's a combo of there, right? I mean, and I'm not shading anyone, right? This is a victory. We won. Yep. Cool, right? But if we're being realistic, there were some stretches of the game where, from a defensive standpoint, you're like, bro, the previous drive, we blitzed, 7 out of 9 times before they punted.
Mm-hmm.
We got pressured. They were moving back. We were forcing, false starts and penalties and illegal shifts and all this other stuff. And then Wheeler or the players were just like, I'm good. We're good. We're going to drop 9 in coverage. We're going to rush 1 or 2 players, and we're going to drop in zone. And then they would get 14 yards, 47-yard scramble touchdown by Fields, then another 12, then a 14, then a 10. And then we would decide, okay, enough's enough. We're going to start rushing 1 more than they had to block. And we would get the Fields, a strip sack, or then we'd get the Fields and we lost for 15. It's like, just stick with what's working. What are you doing? There's
a play at the end of the game where we dropped everybody back, but we had 4 linemen out there. It's like, why even put linemen out there?
Yeah, that was weird, dude. That looked strange. They even said it on the broadcast. They're like, I don't think I've ever seen this.
Yeah, I had called in the preview show. I thought that Minka was going to be the X factor in this one, and while Minka did have a good game,
yeah, he was phenomenal.
Hardly was the X factor I think that we were expecting. I think it was a collective X factor. There was no one defensive player that Rasul, I guess, if I had to pick one.
If I had to pick one, if somebody put a gun to my head, I would agree with you. It has to be Douglas.
But we saw a lot of up and down plays from Dante Trader Jr., who had a bad penalty and then a really good forced fumble and recovery. And then we saw Zach Sealer again with a bad penalty, but then 2 tackles for a loss back to back. We saw Kenneth Grant almost should have been called for a penalty for diving on a guy late, which made no sense. But we saw him with some explosion and some run stopping for the first time that we were hoping to see from him all season. It's just the defense is so wildly inconsistent, but it was good to at least see more positive this game than, they kind of picked up where they left off in Buffalo, where Buffalo was very up and down, and this was kind of the same.
Yeah, I think it was 70-30. If I had to put some obscure random percentage on my thoughts of how we did, I think 70% of this game was what you can hope for given the limitations of some of the skill positions, right? Yeah. AKA the cornerback room, and the safety number 2. And 30% you were just head scratching like we were just talking about. I think if this can continue, it's going to set this team up to be successful in some games. Yeah. It's going to cost us other games. Yeah. So we just need to figure out a way to reduce that head scratching kind of, what are you doing, Sealer? What are you doing, Dotson? What are you doing, insert random player? The rookies, the Trader Juniors, I can forgive rookies for making mistakes, right? I've been very vocal on this show of I grace until the end of the season, right? If you make a mistake, fine, just try to do better next time, right? Because rookies are going to be rookies. Sure. But when you have Dotson, for example, or you have Sealer, for example, last game hitting, was it roughing the kicker? This game, I forgot what it was, face mask or something. It's just like, what are you doing, dude?
Yeah. So let us know in the comments or here in the chat what your key takeaways were from this game. I think there was a lot to talk about here. Obviously, our first victory of the year, so everybody probably has something that they spotted that maybe we did not. Yes. So let us know, what was your takeaway from the game? Who shone the brightest for you? Because there was quite a few positives to take out of this one.
Yes, there was.
All right, buddy, let's finish it off with Legends and Letdowns, what Josh sometimes calls the greatest segment in sports media history. He's not biased at all.
No, none. No, it's documented. There are white papers about this out there.
So in this segment, each of us will choose 2 players that we thought were legendary in this game. They had a huge impact on the game. They were in a positive light. And then 2 either, doesn't have to be players, but 2 instances of somebody being a letdown or something being a letdown, which were people who were against us winning this game or actively trying to help us lose. Never the best there. Josh, we'll start with you, man, with your legends. Who's your first legend from this game?
So, I feel like a turnstile, right? Whether it's you, whether it's me, it has to be Devon Achane, right? Mm-hmm. Game-breaking speed, forced more missed tackles than I can remember to count, and really genuinely set the tone for this team, right? That touchdown that he had was absolutely incredible. He is especially now, given Tyreek Hill's injury, I feel like so much more pressure is going to be put on him. And I don't say this about a lot of players, but I genuinely believe he has the kind of mental fortitude, I guess you could say, really kind of shoulder that. And I don't know, man. I'm really excited about him. I have been since we drafted him out of Texas A&M. I think he's taken yet another step forward from last week to this week. It's going to be really exciting to see. And as a fantasy and dynasty owner of both him and Waddle, yes, go team.
Oh yeah, you beat me this week. Everybody I play in our dynasty league scores 200 points on me. I don't know.
It's your defense.
No, I'm good. Yeah, my defense thing. I got the Dolphins defense out there. Great point here by Jorge. He gets the offensive line. The Legends, they have not allowed a sack in the last 2 games. I don't have the stats in front of me to fact check it, but I'm going to assume that you are correct.
Yes, that is a fact.
Great job, dude. Offensive line has been shelling out some wins there, which is great to see. Not allowing a sack against Buffalo is a kind of a big deal. The Jets too, even without their biggest.
Oh, the Jets, their strongest position room is their defensive line, so that was huge.
I'm not going to say a lot about mine because we have talked about him a lot in this one, but I just want to give Darren Waller one last shout out for being a legend in this game. To come in a situation, hasn't played football in a year and a half, score 2 touchdowns and be such an impact on the team. Fantastic job by him. So I'll jump into my second one, but I really just want to give him his last dues on today's show before we jump into the next week already, because the NFL moves hella quick. My second one is actually Rasul Douglas, man. Rasul Douglas did get beat on that Garrett Wilson touchdown, but that, to your point in our chat, sometimes players just make plays. And Garrett Wilson made an unbelievable catch. Rasul Douglas had his hands all over him, was pushing him out of bounds, was doing everything he possibly could. And nothing happened there. The announcers were critical of giving one-on-one against Garrett Wilson. To me, I like Garrett Wilson, but he's not Justin Jefferson. I don't care about doing a one-on-one against him, especially if we could get the fields, which we did not. But shout out, Douglas was just everywhere in this game. And it wasn't just pass protection, which it was great to see a Dolphins corner who could pass, could defend the pass, but consistently coming up to the line of scrimmage and making tackles when the Jets were trying to just keep the running game going and going and going. Rasul was there. Rasul was making plays, and Rasul was celebrating like the best of them, and he deserved to because he is the only damn corner worth a damn on this team. Although Jack Jones with a nice forced fumble in the beginning. So, incredible that these two were signed as late as they were. They are now our starting corners for the rest of the year. I mean, we have so many corners on IR. We just put Jason Marshall on IR.
Oh, I missed that. Are you serious?
Before this game. So he's out for at least 4.
That sucks.
We lost
Cam Smith.
We cut Cam Smith. Storm Duck is on IR. Artie Burns is on IR. Cater Kohu's on IR. So we have Ethan Bonner, I think, is playing the nickel corner, if I had to guess.
Ethan Bonner, white boy supreme.
Incredible job by Rasul. Shout out to him. He had a great game. Hopefully he continues to keep it up because we will need it in the latter half of the year.
Yeah, and his rushing ability, a couple TFLs on Justin Fields were absolutely incredible. He's got what I mean. Really his good tackling for him.
Yeah, his open field tackling on Justin Fields was
awesome.
God dang, man. He was the only one who seemed like he wanted to tackle him.
And my last one of the day, right? I'm going to give a shout out to a rook. I know he had a bonehead penalty, but again, grace for rookies. They're going to learn this guy got tossed in, right? He's going to learn on the fly. Dante Trader Jr. is my my last legend of the game. There are quite a few actually in this game, right? Across the offensive line and so on and so forth. But that forced fumble and that he then recovered himself the wherewithal to not only punch it out, but also find the ball, drop on the ball and cover up. Really genuinely created some momentum kind of early in the second half, which I thought was needed, right? Coming out of the half, they got the ball, they were driving this play. I mean, it was really cool. And he played his ass off. Again, had a couple rookie moves or a couple rookie mistakes rather, but looked pretty damn good, all things considered.
And that's our legends for this game. Who are your legends? I know, George shouted out the offensive line, not allowing a sack in the last 2 games. Abel, I see you out there. Blake's out there too. Anybody else who's watching us live, let us know in the chat. If you are watching us after the fact, let us know in the comments. Loved your comments, by the way. Huge shout. I'm going to give a legend shout out to the people who have followed us this week. I know we've changed our content strategy a little bit. We've seen a slew of new subscribers and commenters, and we just want you all to know that we appreciate everything that you're saying in the comments. Even those of you who are critical, that's fine. We love you too.
There's no bad publicity.
We love you too.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And Abel with a legend here.
Julian Hill doing the dirty. Yeah, hopefully he continues to improve. I mean, what an improvement from last year to this year for him. It's
night
been
and
great.
day.
Yeah, it's been great. All right, let's get into our letdowns of the week here. I'm not even throwing one out here to either team. I'm throwing one out to the refs because they apparently did not get the memo that this game was not about them. Constant 20 plus penalties in this game. It was so hard to watch. I talked about it at the top of the show. Like, I legitimately thought about stopping watching at some point, even though I knew we had to come and talk about this show.
Yeah.
Listen, the refs are supposed to not be seen unless absolutely necessary. And they were so involved in this game. At one point, I could literally read Aaron Glenn's lips say, "Let them effing play." Like,
agreed.
It was insane. We want to see football, not referees. And I jokingly said to you that maybe, maybe the head ref is recently divorced and looking for some airtime so we can find a hot date. I don't know. Absolutely crazy. The refs were nuts in this one. Listen, there were
how many penalties total combined? It was 20 plus.
20
right?
plus. 20 plus, yeah.
Absolutely.
And there's fans out there who are going to be like, "Oh, there was plenty of missed ones." Yeah, but who cares? Let them miss some plays and let the guys make some plays. Like, it's so stupid. And it's not just these guys across the league. I mean, I'm just so tired of seeing referees, dude, especially when they're ticky-tack plays that didn't need to be called. I feel bad for Jets fans because that offensive pass interference on Garrett Wilson was egregious. So what a stupid call.
I mean, as a Dolphins fan, I can say that was horseshit. Yeah,
like, it was absolute. That was the least amount of push-off I've ever seen. It's so crazy.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm happy they called it.
Well, yeah, me too. But I don't want to see the refs on a damn screen anymore.
No, I have expected them to start handing out those flag football kind of belts and saying, "All right, guys, we're going flag football for the second half."
Like, might as well, right?
I mean, Jesus. So I'm only going to do one. I had a few, but I'm only going to do this is a victory. I'm going to focus on kind of the end of game play calling, right?
Yeah.
Which has been a theme throughout the season and something that we have not been quiet about. We've been very vocal about Mike McDaniel's play calling in general, but specifically end of games, right? Yeah. Towards the kind of middle to end of the fourth quarter. It's just, I don't know what's going on because he called a really good game. He had a really good kind of first quarter script coming out when we got the ball. I loved that he accepted the ball, right? He didn't kick it off. He wanted to just pedal to the metal. I love that. I absolutely love that. When appropriate. Yeah. And I thought some of the, the little Tua flip to Malik Washington.
Oh, nice play.
Love that swagger stuff. Like, I'm all for that. Like, I will eat that shit all day.
Yeah.
And then we get into the end of game thing where, they're driving and we have to, they score, we have to score. And we're doing bubble screens and we're doing, we're having Achane, who's the smaller of the two backs, run right at our center's back into our center on 3 consecutive plays. And you can argue, well, maybe that's more on Achane. I don't think so. No. I think that might have been the play call. I mean, I don't know, but we are an outside run team. Why are we running it up the gut? Just some head scratching stuff. So let down a little bit from Mike McDaniel, right? I think overall it was a good game for him, but just needs to clean up the end of the game stuff.
Yeah, I think Anthony Weaver falls in there a little bit too for doing the, prevent defense, which lets the Jets right back in the game to the point where if they would have recovered the onside kick, they're right back in it for the win, no less, because they're only down by 6.
Speaking of onside kick, guess who was on the hands team? And
Darren Waller right there.
Talk about some trust
with the recovery.
Mm-hmm.
Now I forgot what my point was because you said that. Thanks
sorry.
a lot, you jerk.
You know what? No, I'm not sorry.
The thing that got me the most about the end of the game play calling was that they had an encroachment. So it was 1st and 5, and we didn't get a first down. we didn't get any yards.
And Ali didn't touch the ball.
4th and 5 when we punted it.
Yeah, and Ali didn't touch the ball, which is what he's there for.
Yeah.
Right? So it was just, I don't know, like I said, I feel like Mike McDaniel blacks out when something doesn't work and just blurts out, it's play B, right? That's his default, and it's bubble screens.
Yeah, given it's a positive show, the only other thing I want to call out, and I'm not even going to go into it really, is why do we have defensive linemen covering so often? I don't understand it.
I
mean, we're sitting there watching Chop Robinson cover Garrett Wilson in the flat. What?
Yeah, what could go wrong?
What could possibly go wrong?
And then Jalen Phillips did the same thing like 3 plays later. He was
Yeah.
covering on a wheel route. Right? I'm like,
Yeah, I
what are
don't
you
like
doing?
that aspect of the defense
you
at
doing?
all. It doesn't make any sense to me. Yeah.
I can appreciate the trust you have as a defensive coordinator in your players, but at a certain point, you know,
those guys are there to rush the passer. Okay.
I mean, just stay in your lane, dude. Right? It's horrible.
Oh man. Yeah, let us know what your legends and letdowns are in the chat, please, or in the comments section below as well, because that'll do it for this reaction show. Miami Dolphins' first win of the season against the New York Jets in primetime, Monday Night Football. We get the victory, 27-21. Next up on the docket, the Carolina Panthers, and we're going to be talking about that tomorrow night. You guys are getting a ton of us this week. Absolutely fantastic. Can't wait for it. But huge shout out to George, Abel, and Blake in the chat for joining us once again. You guys are our rocks. You're here to chat with us every single day, and we seriously appreciate it.
Hell yeah.
I appreciate this guy over here, too. He's pretty cool. I do a show with him semi-often. I got it right that time.
You did.
I got it right.
You really did.
I was like, I have to point towards the wall to point towards Josh.
Yeah.
That's the key. Yeah. So until tomorrow night, guys, we will see you then. Have a fantastic evening, and we will see you to talk Carolina Panthers tomorrow night. For Aqua Ace, aka Josh, I'm Anthony Pinzone. Fins up, baby. Shout out to those rivalry uniforms. Go buy one of those things.
Oh, I did.
Fire. Let's